He was supposed to be Marvel's next Thanos, until a text message destroyed everything.
Actor Jonathan Majors is facing up to a year in jail after his conviction for assaulting and harassing his ex-girlfriend.
How is that possible? Based off the evidence, based off the prosecution's evidence, let alone our evidence.
This is the story of how Jonathan Majors went from Marvel's chosen heir to a convicted domestic offender. Jonathan's rise seemed unstoppable. After graduating from Yale School of Drama in 2016, he landed his breakout role in The Last Black Man in San Francisco in 2019 and quickly followed it with major projects in both film and television. By the early 2020s, his performances were drawing serious attention, and people inside the industry were already talking about him as a future leading man. In 2021, Marvel cast him as Kang the Conqueror, the villain chosen to anchor the next phase of the MCU.
The Conqueror.
Kang the Conqueror is the new iconic villain in the MCU.
When he appeared in Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania in February 2023, fans couldn't stop praising him.
Kang is an infinite number of different personas. And you need an actor to be able to pull that off, and that is Jonathan Majors.
He can rewrite existence and shatter timelines. In this film, this is really a side of him we haven't seen. This is his baddest self.
Jonathan Majors and Paul Rudd are awesome actors. The Observer called him the saving grace of the film. Time Out noted, he's really the only thing here that makes a continued story look even vaguely enticing. Just 3 weeks later, he delivered another powerhouse performance in Creed 3 as Dame Anderson, Michael B. Jordan's childhood friend turned boxing rival. Critics called him ferocious and dynamic. Marvel had built its entire next phase around him. 2 Avengers films, The Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars, were essentially structured around his character's variants. He was contracted for years of work, earning approximately $550,000 per major role. Everything was aligned for Jonathan to become one of the biggest stars on the planet.
It's cool. It's a whole different fandom. It's a whole different level. You know, it's a lot like Texas football. This MCU
I like
thing.
Texas football.
Jonathan Major is in almost every movie. This guy's career is blowing up. But then a text message changed everything. On March 25th, 2023, the NYPD responded to a 911 call in Manhattan. Jonathan's ex-girlfriend, Grace Jabari, a British choreographer, told officers she'd been injured earlier that night. The argument had started inside a hired SUV near Canal Street. According to Jabari's testimony, she'd seen a text message on Jonathan's phone from another woman. "Oh, how I wish to be kissing you." At first, it looked like just one bad night, an argument in a car that got out of hand, the kind of thing that can happen in any relationship. But when the trial started, a much bigger story came out. Within days of the arrest, his management company, Entertainment 360, let him go. Not long after, his publicist at the lead company did the same. Roles he'd already been lined up for quietly disappeared, including a Walter Mosley adaptation, a Texas Rangers campaign, and an Otis Redding biopic. Even magazine Dreams, which had premiered at Sundance just months earlier, was ultimately pulled by Searchlight. But Jonathan's legal team was confident. In May 2023, his attorney Priya Chaudhry told reporters she had irrefutable evidence that Jabari was lying, calling the prosecution a witch hunt. The trial began on November 29th, 2023, and what came out wasn't just about one fight in a car. The prosecution presented text messages and audio recordings that went back months, and they showed something that made the March incident look completely different.
Grace has to be in a certain mindset to support Coretta Scott King. You know who that is? That's Martin Luther King's wife. Michelle Obama, Barack Obama's wife. I'm a great man, a great man. I am doing great things. Not just for me, but for my culture and for the world. The woman that supports me, that I support, that needs to be a great woman.
He wasn't asking Grace to be a partner. He was casting her in a role. And when she didn't perform it correctly, she wasn't just disappointing him. She was disrupting the plan. That man is out of his mind. I'm sorry, but him name dropping all these important figures is straight up cringe. But not everyone heard it the same way. Some people thought this showed a man with high standards, not a controlling partner, that maybe Grace was recording to manipulate the situation. But what happened in that car wasn't about standards or relationship expectations. And when the jury heard all the evidence, not just the audio we heard, they convicted him on December 18th, 2023, after 6 hours of deliberation over 3 days. The jury found Jonathan Majors guilty on 2 counts: reckless assault and harassment, and not guilty on 2 other charges, including intentional assault and aggravated harassment. The reckless versus intentional distinction mattered legally. It meant the jury thought Jonathan hurt Grace through reckless actions, maybe grabbing for his phone, not deliberately trying to injure her. But guilty was still guilty. Jonathan sat there with no expression. His girlfriend, Megan Good, who'd been at the trial, stayed quiet. Within hours, Marvel Studios released a statement. Marvel Studios does not plan to move forward with Jonathan Majors in any capacity. Conservative estimates put Jonathan's lost earnings from Marvel alone somewhere between $50 and $100 million. The studio moved on and reworked its entire long-term plan without him. In July 2024, when Marvel announced they were bringing back Robert Downey Jr. as Dr. Doom, the films would be retitled Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars. The Kang storyline that had been building since Loki in 2021 was essentially abandoned.
I mean, both Robert Downey Jr. and Ezra Miller have had like a history of trouble with the law and getting arrested for felonies. I mean, you only had a misdemeanor. Do you feel like it's unfair that you're not being given the same opportunities as them?
I mean, that's hard. I mean, come on. Yeah.
I mean, why do you think that's the case though, for them?
Wow. I don't know.
As AP film critic Jake Coyle wrote, Marvel had more riding on Jonathan Majors than perhaps any other actor. Now it's parting ways with him and throwing years of plans for its cinematic universe in disarray. The conviction was supposed to be the end of the story, but it was not. In February 2024, the New York Times published an investigation in which 2 more women came forward with allegations dating back to between 2013 and 2019, during the early years of Jonathan's career. One of the women was Emma Duncan, who had been engaged to Jonathan between 2015 and 2019.
Another former girlfriend, Emma Duncan, accused him of emotionally and physically abusing her, choking her, throwing her around, and bruising her. A third, Maura Hooper, also said that he had emotionally abused her.
Emma said she received threats, where he stated, "I'm going to make sure you can't have children." The Times investigation included interviews with more than 20 people. Rolling Stone later spoke to over 40 people who knew Jonathan during his time at Yale and early in his career. Across both reports, the same descriptions kept coming up: complicated, unpredictable, and sometimes violent man. Even at Yale School of Drama, 9 anonymous sources described him as toxic and, in some cases, physically aggressive. More than a dozen classmates filed complaints with administrators about his behavior. The school sent him a written reminder about proper conduct, but no further action was taken. According to New York Times and Rolling Stone, people around him described it as a pattern that had been there for over a decade. On April 8, 2024, Jonathan returned to court for sentencing. Judge Michael Gaffey sentenced him to probation with no jail time. He was ordered to complete a 52-week batterer's intervention program, continue mental health treatment, and pay a $250 fee. Before the sentence was handed down, Grace Jabari addressed the court with a victim impact statement. "I was small, scared, and vulnerable, held tightly in his hand. He's not sorry. He has not accepted responsibility. He will do this again." She left the courtroom before the sentence was announced. Here's where Jonathan could have changed the story: a sincere apology or an acknowledgement of harm. Instead, he gave an interview to ABC News in January 2024 that made everything worse.
I was absolutely shocked and afraid. How is that possible? Based off the evidence, based off the prosecution's evidence, let alone our evidence.
He questioned the jury's verdict on national television. When pressed about whether he was responsible for Jabari's injuries, he dodged completely.
I wish to God I knew. That would give clarity. That would give me some type of peace about it.
But you're confident you didn't cause
I have no
them.
question.
A jury convicted him. The audio recordings were public. Emma and Maura had come forward, and he still couldn't say it. PR experts were openly critical of how it was handled. Nathan Miller, the CEO of Miller Inc., said Jonathan made a bad situation worse. That interview tremendously undercut his credibility. The interview particularly damaged him within the Black community, whose support he desperately needed. His earlier comments comparing Grace Jabari to figures like Coretta Scott King and Michelle Obama were widely seen as inappropriate and patronizing. Even Coretta Scott King's own daughter publicly corrected him. In March 2024, Grace Jabari filed a civil lawsuit against Jonathan Majors, claiming reckless behavior, defamation, and emotional distress. The lawsuit covered incidents from 2021 to 2023 in New York, Los Angeles, and London. In November 2024, both parties announced a settlement. The terms were confidential. Meanwhile, Jonathan's personal life took a turn that divided public opinion. Actress Meagan Good began appearing with him during his trial in November 2023. They'd reportedly started dating in May 2023, just 2 months after his arrest. Married in March 2025 in a private Los Angeles ceremony. In late 2024, independent distributor Briarcliff Entertainment picked up Magazine Dreams. They set a March 21st, 2025 release date. The CEO framed it as a redemption question. Jonathan made a mistake. Justice was served. Should we burn the negative? In the film, Jonathan plays an aspiring bodybuilder with psychological problems whose need for recognition leads to violent thoughts. The themes took on an uncomfortable weight given everything that had come out about him. In March 2025, as the film approached release, Jonathan did a big interview with The Hollywood Reporter. "I've had 2 years of deep thought and meditation. I'm stronger now. I'm wiser now." He still didn't take direct responsibility. Instead, he talked about childhood trauma for the first time publicly. "I dealt with from both men and women from the time I was 9. Childhood trauma provides context. It helps understand someone's psychology, but it doesn't erase harm done to other people. It doesn't make the pattern with Emma, Maura, and Grace disappear. Some celebrities signaled they'd work with him. Matthew McConaughey said he had faith in him. Michael B. Jordan was open to more Creed movies. Whoopi Goldberg questioned what else people expected after he'd completed his legal obligations. He went to court. He did what he was supposed to do. I'm not sure what else there is. But a casting director gave the real industry take. If Magazine Dreams is a hit, everybody reassesses. But there are other talented people. Except at the very top, people are replaceable. Jonathan Majors was supposed to be irreplaceable. Marvel built 2 Avengers films around him. He had the talent, the training, the moment, but when the jury said guilty, none of that mattered anymore.